So this morning we're launching into a new theme for the month, Listen to Your Heart. And our talk title this morning is The Seat of the Soul. And before we talk about our individualized experience of the soul, let's talk about what soul is. And to do that, we need to talk about what the infinite is. Because there is one infinite everything. And within this one is mind. An activity of mind in the form of mind. One absolute reality. And sometimes it's easy to fall into this misunderstanding that there is the mind, the law, the form, as three separate things. And in truth, it's one thing. And so every form is that thing. Every activity is that thing. Every thought is that thing. That's why when we say thoughts are things, it's an acknowledgement of that process of infinite possibility and the idea of form or experience being moved into the activity of law, into that creative soil. So thought being the seed, soul is that medium, that activity, where all of the parts to create form exist. And so soul is literally the activity and the source and the substance and the supply of the infinite, all coming into manifestation. It is that place that is the doer. It knows how to do, but it doesn't know what it's doing in terms of the way we understand it. It simply receives the impress of thought, the idea, the heart's desire. It receives that and it goes about the activity of making it so. And it does so with complete neutrality. It doesn't second guess us. There's no part of the activity of creation that goes, yeah, I know you think that's a good idea, but maybe not. So here's your idea back. Work on your idea a little bit and then bring it back to me and I'll manifest it. That's not how the soul works. The soul simply receives and does. And so if the soul of the infinite is that medium of creative activity, and we are the divine in form, fully infused with all that it is, then our soul, our experience, our individualized soul is literally, now stay with me here, it is literally the very activity of the universe within us. That our thoughts, our heart's desires, the things that we imagine are being received, are being impressed into the soul and immediately acted upon with complete neutrality. There's nothing within us that is guilting or shaming any of our ideas or any of our creation. Nor is it necessarily celebrating them. It's just making it happen. That's what the soul does. It says, you got an idea? I'll take that. There you go. So why do we so often feel separate from our soul? Well, because we're in form, and we abide on this planet Earth, and we have this thing called language. And language limits. It just does. The idea that I can ever fully 100% accurately articulate the infinite with finite language makes me chuckle. I just have to recognize that in this human form, I can get as close as I can get. And we do that because it's important to talk about our ideas. It's important to share. That's that process. But my experience, and I love how Rumi puts it, language is this, silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. That it's in the silence that I understand, which is why we practice, which is why we spend time in meditation, which is why we spend time in the cocoon, if you will, transforming our thoughts, because our thoughts are really what's driving the bus. And our unexamined beliefs are driving just as much as the ones we're aware of. And that's the piece I want us to really lean into this morning, is that it's the unexamined thoughts. It's those places where we believe so deeply, where our greatest faith is active. That is that unquestioned layer. We call them hidden beliefs. We call them unconscious because we're unaware of them. And to truly live an integral, a life of integrity, I believe that it is acutely important that we do everything possible to live in a state of awareness. I don't have to become more God. In fact, I can't, neither can you. But I have the opportunity every moment to become more aware of the God that I am. Now, I know some people bristle at that phrase that we would even claim to be God. Let me clarify. I am very clear that none of us is all of God. And I am equally clear that all of God is in residence right here and right there. That if there is only one life, then that must be my life. Must be. Because here I am, I'm alive. It must be your life. In the truth of oneness, we are living the same life, individualized as each of us. So everything I believe is active within the whole. And this can be the scary part of oneness. And I think because we tend to interpret our human experience from a lens of fault or credit, reward, punishment, that it makes it a little challenging for us to lean into and to really embody the truth and experience of oneness. That there is one soul, there is one activity of creation, and that there is no wrinkle, nothing where there's not an impact of that soul's expression. And so it must be true that everything I do impacts you, whether you know about it or not. That just impacted all of the energy of the universe. Every movement, every thought, movement, energy shifts. And so when I look to examining my beliefs, how does that impact the whole? Do I want what I want for my humanness, for every expression of humanity? Do I imagine, when I'm using my individualized godness, do I use it in a manner that is intentionally aware to create, to guide the creative activity from absolute inclusivity? That everything I want for me, I want for you. And that can be really easy, because of course I want everybody to celebrate. I want everybody to be celebrated. I want everybody to enjoy all the abundance they can stand and that they want. I want everyone to experience absolute freedom and joy. And then there comes those folks who, when we experience their behavior, that we find ourselves wanting something, let's say, less than holy for them. Where we're railing against them because we've gotten caught up in believing that their behavior is who they are. Any act of hatred toward another human being is an act of hatred toward myself. There's only one of us here. When I wish something negative for somebody else, I'm wishing that something negative for everyone, including myself. Now, do I live in this clarity 24/7? No, I do not. No, I do not. Because I'm still in human form. And my human journey is still a journey. But what I do is spiritual practice. And what's important is practice. Is that we have some spiritual practice. And there's no magic bullet, folks. There's not. There's no one spiritual practice that's going to work for everybody. So find what works for you. Find what reminds you, what connects you with that activity of your soul. Because the way the soul communicates with you, so that you are an integral part of the manifestation of your own life, is through those divine nudges. Through those ideas that say, go do this. Stop. Turn left. Turn right. But we have to make space. We have to invite an awareness of that activity. And we have to be in a place of surrender, a place of yes, a place of I feel the love within me. Yes, a place of surrendering my idea of the outcome. Because here's the thing about this soul, the activity, the creative medium of life. it knows with absolute accuracy how to create the perfect expression, the perfect form, the perfect experience of what it receives. I don't need to know that. And if I am reasoning from a limited brain, I limit the unlimited by holding on to the idea of an outcome of how it has to be. And so I invite you this morning, be bigger. Dare to be bigger by surrendering. Surrendering not in giving up, but surrendering as not having to fight anymore. Surrendering to the truth of an authority and an activity within you that knows more than you do. To surrender to that. To surrender to the perfection of your being. And follow that to the holy wow of your life that shows up beyond your expectations, beyond the limits of your projected outcome. Because that's what's available to every one of us, is an experience that will literally blow our human minds. Because it's so much more than we can imagine. And so I invite you, as we move into prayer, to bring to mind an experience that you want to manifest in your life. Just the experience. If ideas of form come up, just release. And just hold in mind the idea as we take this into prayer. Knowing that there is only one life, I know that I am that informed. That it is literally living its life as me, experiencing itself as me. That the creative power that created me lives, moves, and has its being within me. That as I am the activity of the activity of the divine lives within me and continues to create through its creation as me. That it knows how to breathe my breath. That it knows how to beat my heart. So I don't have to know. I don't have to know how my body made itself. I just have to know that I, this human I, this little I, doesn't have to do it. But that which is within me knows perfectly how to do it, and does it with every breath, giving to its creation endlessly, ceaselessly, joyfully, just pouring itself into its creation non-stop. And so I speak my word this moment of now, which is the only moment there is, claiming, affirming that every desire that is being held in consciousness right now is being received into that activity of the soul, into the activity of love, into that creative factory, that infinite, eternal factory where all of the parts and all of the pieces and all of the knowledge and blueprints exist, and it is being made so now that there's no waiting period. It is now. And I don't have to know how. I just get to use it and to be it and to enjoy it and to celebrate it. And as I do, I feel the gratitude well up inside of me. It is the faith that the unseen and the seen are one and the same. That the idea, the activity, and the form is the same. No separation. And so my ideas are the ideas of the divine. Every idea is an idea of the divine, moved into the soul, the activity of the divine, and made a divine form. So I claim and affirm that every idea being held in mind right now is an idea, a divine idea in the very mind of God being made manifest through the activity of that which is thinking it into form and experience. So grateful. Grateful to know exactly how creation works. That it works all the time, every time. So I let go. I let go and I live in curiosity, in expectancy of how the soul manifests. And so I move into the journey with my eyes, my ears, my heart, my mind wide open. Open to all possibilities, so as it shows up, I recognize it. I see it. And I meet it with the hallelujah that it deserves. And so knowing it is done, I release, I let go. I invite you to move into that surrender of release with me as we say together. Amen. Ashe. Aho.